Hi there, Tamara Doris, your Sacramento Real Estate professional and your Sacramento Real Estate professor. And today I want to talk about something that most buyers are not really super savvy about, and that is title insurance. What is title insurance and why do we need it? First of all, it's important to understand and distinguish title insurance is not homeowner's insurance. When you buy a house in California and you have a mortgage or a loan associated with it, your lender is going to make certain that you have a homeowner's policy. This protects the lender should, heaven forbid, the house burn down or get, robbed or whatever. Something happens. The house is the lender's collateral. So they absolutely want to make sure you have a homeowner's policy. That's homeowner's insurance, just like you have on a car, but for your house. Secondly, you hear the term home warranty. A home warranty is something that doesn't always, but hopefully should go when you purchase a home. In other words, when I write an offer for my buyers, I always write in that the sellers will pay for the new buyers to have a home warranty. Home warranties vary quite a bit, and I could do an entire video on them, but I'm not going to. I will spare you that and just explain it like this. A home warranty ensures that should certain things go wrong with the property after the buyer buys it, within the first year of purchase usually, unless the buyer opts to continue it, then that will be covered or at least will be helped. And there are often premiums involved. Some of the things home warranties typically, not always, but typically cover are plumbing, fixtures, appliances usually is the biggest one, like your central heat and air, things of that nature. So I just explained to you what I'm not explaining to you. So we're not talking about homeowners insurance and we're not talking about home warranties. So then what in the heck is title insurance? So when you go to buy someone's property, it's really important that they're the person that has the right to sell it. So some of the things that could come up, for example, if we didn't have title insurance, some of the things that could come up is maybe there was an ex-spouse involved who's still on title. And then you end up buying the house, paying all this money, and someone comes out of the woodwork and says, this is my house, they didn't have a right to sell it. Things like that used to happen, right? So that we call that a cloud on title. The other thing that could happen is there could be liens against the property. There could be property taxes that's back owed. As soon as I open an escrow and we've got a buyer and a seller, the first thing the title company will do is a preliminary title. We just call it a prelim. Now I want to be really crystal clear that Northern California and Southern California have separate entities for title insurance and the escrow process. And I'll explain escrow a different time. But for right now, just understand in Northern California, it's one entity. It's called title and escrow. Now, in the back east, they have attorneys. So they don't have closings like we do up here. They have settlements. Okay, so it can get really confusing, but if you're in Northern California, all you need to remember is that title and escrow is handled at the same entity. Okay, so I explained why title insurance is important, but that protects the buyer. What about the lender? Just like the lender wants to make sure that the house itself as a structure is insured to help, because it's their collateral, so to help the lender feel, okay, this house is protected. Well, the same thing with title. If the lender doesn't know something that is going wrong with the house and they don't know about it, then it could come back and they could still lose their investment, their collateral. So there's also what's called an extended policy. I won't go deep into the American land and title and the California land and title. I won't explain all that to you. If you take my real estate class in American River College, I'll tell you. But for right now, just understand that the lender requires an extended policy, and that the buyer's title insurance, the extended policy is usually covered by the buyer. Everything is negotiable. There's not really anything as standard, but typical in the Sacramento area is that each buyer and seller, they each pay their own part of the escrow fees. Now, again, everything is negotiable. There's plenty of times that the seller will pay for both, but it's definitely not necessary and it's not standard. So typically speaking, escrow is split. It can be split. When it comes to the buyer's insurance, that is really kind of a buyer's expense, because why does the lender need an extended policy? Well, the regular California land and title, it covers if there's liens against the property, and it can cover easements. But when you get really, really extended, that's where we're talking about having a survey. And I'll give you an example. I was the buyer's agent in a property in Newcastle. And back in the day, I'm talking a long time ago, older than me even, back in the day, they didn't have the typical standard surveying that we have now. It used to be, if you look back in history, it used to be meets and bounds. It used to be you own the property from that old oak tree to the creek and back to the rock mountain there. That was your property. Well, now we've gotten quite sophisticated and detailed in property, but it's not unusual, like this property I was selling in Newcastle, that the surveying was not up to date. So the extended policy protects the lender in the case that there's something going on. There's an easement, there's an encroachment, the property has been surveyed incorrectly. And in the case in Newcastle, the person who I was representing, the buyer, we looked at the title insurance, the extended policy, and where it turned out that the property actually ended, a neighbor's barn was on that property like about 5 feet over. So think about this. If I'm going to buy a house or I'm going to sell a house and there's a structure that's built on what's technically legally my property, that's a problem, right? So the extended policy, it actually serves everybody. It's intended to serve the lender, but listen, if you're buying a property and someone's got their barn on your property, you want to know about it. And if you're selling a property and you have your barn on someone else's property, their legal property, you need to know about it, right? I've literally had situations where people have had to destroy and deconstruct a property. I also have had a former client who their barn, again, it's with the barns, because it's usually rural, right? It's usually rural. If we are in Natomas or Fair Oaks, some parts of Fair Oaks are rural, but if we're in, just say Natomas or Lincoln, where things are just really, in tract homes, you're not going to have this issue so much because you know where your lot line is. You just know where property begins and where property ends. But when we're talking about rural, and I guess Lincoln does have rural properties, when we're talking about rural properties, it might not have ever really been properly surveyed. So you could end up putting your hen house on your neighbor's property. And if the neighbor never complained about it and you're like, well, that's easement by prescription, you can get really technical, but at the end of the day, it's really important, whether you're a buyer or seller, that you understand the survey points and look at it on a map. This is where the property is. This is what you own. You don't own anything else around it, or this is what you're buying and you're not buying other things around it. So it's really, really important that you have both the California title insurance and the extended policy for your lender. And at the end of the day, it protects you. I know when you're first buying a house and you're like, home warranty, home insurance, title insurance, what is this all for? And I understand that things get really expensive. I really do. I'm right there with you. But at the end of the day, insurance is created to protect you. And we can complain about it when we pay it. But if you get rear-ended and someone hits you, we're in California, and someone hits you and they're not insured, you're out of pocket all of that money. And so you know what that feels like. But if they have if they have an auto insurance policy like Farmers or AAA or something like that, then that repair, if it's not your fault, is going to all be paid for. So insurance is not used a lot, hopefully, but when it's used because it's needed. And so just like health insurance, you put all this money into health insurance and then, you have to go to the hospital or, you break a leg or something like that. That's what that insurance is for. So just remember the 3 kinds of things that you're going to have to pay for as far as kind of an insurance-y thing are homeowner's insurance, especially if you're using a lender and you want one anyway, trust me. Home warranty, which is very nice to have, not required, but nice to have. And title insurance, which just goes with a real estate transaction. Like there's nothing you can do to say, I don't need title insurance. Your lender's going to require it. Escrow does it, and that's just how it goes. So hopefully you found this helpful. If I can help you on your house hunt in Sacramento, or if you're looking to sell your home in Sacramento, give me a call. Click below and see my new sellers seminar. Absolutely free to watch. We give you a lot of great information on getting your home ready to sell. In fact, even if you're not in Sacramento, it can be useful. So I hope you enjoy, and if you want to set up a Zoom time to talk to me, we can make that happen too. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.